In this video we are going to be removing all of the roots and mossy old grass from what was this mess of a lawn. Every single one of these has been sapping moisture and goodness out of this area. This is why you level your lawn. It's such an important thing to do. So if you've got a new house with a new lawn, or you're about to plant a new lawn, please go through this process before just slapping grass down on the ground. Digging the whole lot over, regrading it, and hopefully at the end of it all we'll have a beautiful lawn. We shall see. Wow, there's a root. Hiya folks, welcome back to the show. If you remember when we first bought this house, there was kind of a lawn coming out here, but really it was just moss. The problem with the ground around here is that there was a great big birch tree, massive birch tree growing in the corner over there, which was one of the first things that were took down because it was far too close to the property. So that's now gone. We got someone out to remove the stump, so we've got the stump grinder out. Big job to remove the stump itself, but the roots of that tree have obviously been grown out over many years right across this garden, and you're talking serious roots. I mean, some of these here, some of these roots are just, you know, all of these roots need to go. There is no point in planting a new lawn on top of that. All the old, you can barely even call it turf, it's all the old grass just needs to come out. What we're going to do with that is turn it into a turf pile or a turf stack. So we'll basically stack it grass to grass, and we'll leave it and it'll compost down over time. That'll turn into quite good compost. Mrs. Mack has done the lion's share of the work on this, by the way. She has taken out an unbelievable amount of roots. It's back-breaking work. All you can do really is, there's two options. You can either stump grind the entire lawn. There's no way a rotavator will get through this. Rotavators aren't going to get through 4-inch roots. So you can either stump grind the whole lot, or you dig it out manually with a fork and save on your gym membership. So we're digging down about 200 mil or thereabouts, which should give plenty space to regrade and to flatten everything out, get the levels right. We've also got this soil around the front of the extension here. Not only was it a rooty mess, but it's also been driven on by diggers over time, so the levels are all over the place, and it is literally like concrete, so we've got that to do as well. We are putting decking down here, but we still want to get the levels right underneath the decking so that water kind of drains away from the house rather than towards the house. So even though there's decking going here, it's important that we get these levels right. We are going to buy a little tiller just to try and break all these clods up. The soil's actually really nice. The only problem is, after you've dug it up and you've left it for a while, you see it's all turned into these solid clay lumps, and they are going to be a nightmare to break up. So the sooner we can tiller it, the better, because when it's still soft, it just breaks up like that, you see. But after you've left it for a while, there's no breaking that up in a million years. Well, we'll try wetting it and see if it'll soften it a bit, but most of that is just turned into big clay rocks, basically. So just so you can get an appreciation of how much work is involved in a project like this little area here, that took best part of 2 hours to dig out the roots from this little bit. There's still roots I just can't get out, and as you saw, my fork carked it as well, so I need to get a new garden fork. Mrs. Mac is still ploughing on over there and doing a grand job. We don't really need to go much further this way because that's where the decking's going, but what I have done is I've sprayed it with water just to soften the ground a little bit, because there's a few bits that are a bit high. We'll need to dig it a little bit, but we don't need to dig all the roots out in the way that we have done here. And I've also given this a bit of a spray with water, and hopefully it'll soften up the clods, and then once we get with tiller, which is ordered, hopefully this will tiller up. Fingers crossed. So the rain started and it was time to have a little bit of a break, but we got a fair bit done, and the temperatures were quite warm, and a day or so later the ground's dried up pretty well, to be honest, so it's time to crack on. I'll tell you one thing though, that little tiller, absolutely over the moon with that. Probably one of the best tools that we've bought on this renovation to date. I mean, it was only 50 quid. And we honestly thought it would just kind of jump around the ground and not really do very much. But once we've got the roots out, it got stuck into this ground, no problem at all. Powerful little machine, really, really impressed. So we've got this is all dug over with the tiller, pretty much up to where the azalea tree is. We've just got this last little strip of roots down here, and there's a whole load of roots over there. I'll quickly show you that because those are really quite evil. So this spot here, you can just about see the roots kind of sticking up through the kind of concrete ground. These are going to be a nightmare to get out, and we've also got all sorts of like old bits of path and bricks and all sorts. So this bit needs to be dug up, because what we are going to do is kind of blend the new bit of lawn into this section of lawn that we seeded last year. But other than that, as I say, this side is pretty much ready for levelling. This is all really nice and soft, and once we've got the rest of the roots out, we can start getting this all to the correct kind of levels and whatnot. And that means we need a level starting point, because we are going to be level left to right, and then we are going to have a very, very slight slope away from the house. It's meant that we've had to start kind of terraforming outside the immediate back of the property where the decking's going to be going, simply because over here, a bit off topic from the lawn, but we want it so that any water that lands underneath the decking is more likely to go in that direction, away from the house, rather than towards the house. And then we're going to have a little gravel strip here, so we've just got gravel boards in along here, and then we'll get a strip of gravel in just to keep things neat and tidy. The gravel will come all the way around here, and as I say, we've got the gravel boards in. That'll do for now in terms of just getting a little bit of basic landscaping done. So we've still got a lot of work to do. We've got all of these roots up this top little corner here to dig out, so I'm not going to bore you with that. We'll get that all dug out, we'll get the last little bit of gravel board put in, and we'll make a start on levelling all of this out, and I'll come back to you and explain kind of what we're doing.
We could try to stop this, postpone the heartache, but I bet your body disagrees, 'cause you keep coming
Can I just say, this is why you level your lawn. It's such an important thing to do. So if you've got a new house with a new lawn, or you're about to plant a new lawn, please go through this process before just slapping grass down on the ground, because it's really important. I'll tell you why in a minute, but check out how far out of level this actually was. And I always thought that the garden sloped in that direction, and obviously it certainly does over time. But over here, right next to the house, I mean, we are now coming on for 15 metres away from the house here, and look at how much higher the grass was compared to what it should have been. That's nearly a foot higher, probably at least 6 inches higher. Here's a 2x6 just for scale, so 150 mil. So that's 6 inch, and that means over a long period of time, all the water from rain that lands on the lawn over here, especially on a highly compacted lawn, is flowing in this direction towards the house, and that is the one thing that you definitely don't want to happen. It's fine for it to be level, it's fine for it to have a slight slope in that direction, but what you don't want is for it to be sloping towards your house. So in this kind of situation, as it rains, the water will just gradually seep downwards through and into the kind of subsoil. But it is a cardinal sin for your lawn to be sloping towards your property, so just don't do it. So you get the general idea of what we've been doing anyway. We've got a level starting point, which is this board going all the way from left to right. That is perfectly level, and that is at the height of the subfloor of the house. So that means even if we get biblical amounts of rain, it's not going to cause water to flow into the subfloor of the property. It's just going to seep down into the ground. And then the way that we like to do this, and we've done this many times over the years, we've tried all sorts of different methods with strings and big boards and just leveling it by hand, like with a spirit level. But trust me, it doesn't take long to chuck a couple of boards in the ground that are at the correct level, and then just run a board like on tram lines across, and it makes it so much easier to get your levels correct. So we've got obviously with starting point board here, we've then got another secondary board there which is still level, but it's very slightly lower than this board, and then we've got another board where that 6 inch bit of wood is over there. And how many roots have we removed so far? Well, there's already been, as I say, several wheelie bins full of roots. Mrs. Mark is currently working on this area here, absolute trooper. Here's the latest pile of roots that we've removed. Oh, and these are just the smaller roots, and there's even more down here as well. And then we've got these really big ones here that I'm gonna have to like cut up using some sort of machine, because they are too big to put in the green waste bin. Every single one of these has been sapping moisture and goodness out of this area for the best part of probably 100 years or thereabouts. So this should be in a totally different condition once we get finished. We're on the home straight, folks. It's been a labour of love, but we're up to the fun bit, and that is pre-seed fertiliser, first of all. So I'll include some links down in the description for the stuff that I'm using here, but we are using this new lawn and turf fertiliser, 696 fertiliser, and the sowing rate for this is 50 grams per square metre. We've marked it out in 2 metre by 2 metre squares, so each square is 4 square metres, and that allows us to work out that it's roughly 54 square metres. We might as well say 50 square metres. So therefore we need about half that bag of fertiliser. I'll show you why we've put the sticks out in a minute, but we'll come back to that. For now, we'll get the pre-seed fertiliser in, rake it in, give it all another kind of stamp over, and then another quick rake, and then we're finally ready for the grass seed. And exciting bit, we are ready for some grass seed. And the seed we're using, which is a pretty good kind of hard-wearing general purpose lawn seed, it's a mix of about 70% ryegrass, 30% red fescue. I'll put the exact composition down at the bottom of the screen there if you're interested. Again, I'll put a link in the description to this particular one, but yeah, I think it's all kind of much of a muchness, as long as you're going roughly 80-20, 70-30 ryegrass to red fescue, or ryegrass to fescue, or thereabouts. That should be great for a fairly hard-wearing family lawn. That should hopefully look quite nice. Sowing rate for this is about 35 grams per square metre, so again it's about half the bag that we need. We were in two minds whether to go for turf or seed, but in the end seed just had a number of advantages. It's much quicker to sow seed than it is to lay turf, or sod as you call it over in the States. It takes less maintenance in the early days with only about 10 minutes of water per day, whereas new turf can potentially need a lot more water, especially during a dry spell. And it's a fraction of the price of turf, probably about 1/10 of the price. The only real disadvantage is that you don't get that instant satisfaction of having a finished lawn, and you do need to leave it a little bit longer before you subject it to heavy traffic. But in our case, we had so many jobs we needed to get on with on the house anyway, it was kind of nice being able to just seed the lawn and forget about it. As you can tell, this is bird territory, so the plastic bags are an absolute must, or this seed will be gone by the morning. I've only given it a light watering because rain is forecast, but other than that, it's time to wait for nature to do its thing. So I think we'll call that done. It still needs a few weeks to thicken up, obviously, but it's come through pretty well. Quite happy with that. In terms of watering, we've watered it probably for about 10 minutes each morning or something like that, so it's really taken very little effort to get this going. If the weather's been very warm, we've watered it twice a day, so once in the morning, once in the evening, but normally once a day. Don't overwater it, but at the same time don't let the seed dry out. We did have a couple of patches that were struggling a little bit, so I added a little bit of extra seed about 2 weeks in, and that's just starting to come through now. Interestingly, one of the patches that struggled a little bit was this corner here, and that's pretty much where the birch tree used to be, so I don't know if there's maybe something in the ground. I don't pop down in the comments if you've got any ideas whether or not that's caused the grass to struggle to get going. It is going, it's just a little bit slower than everywhere else. And then over on this side, in this little corner here, this is kind of underneath the hawthorn tree, so again, I'm not sure why it got a few little bare patches over there. To be fair, we had very heavy rain just after sowing the seeds, so it could just be that the seeds got washed away. You can actually see down this edge here where seeds have been washed off that edge and they've ended up growing down the side of the path. That's simply from the rain washing the seeds down. It doesn't really matter because we're going to be trimming down this edge when we sort the path out, and we might not even be leaving grass in this like little corner area here, so it's not the end of the world. On the whole, no major problems, so do hit subscribe and I'll give you a bit of an update in, what, a couple of months' time, show you what it's like, but it's looking great. And you can just about see some of the finer grasses, the fescue grasses starting to come through as well. They take a little bit longer to grow than the ryegrass, but I think it's a nice mix, this. It should look good. Now, as I say, I'm a hobby gardener at best. If you want to follow some real professionals doing stuff to lawns, there's two main channels I watch, and that's Daniel Hibbert and Robbie from Premier Lawns. So if you want to take your lawns to the next level of perfection, those are the guys to follow. And also do bear in mind that all I've done here is a regrading. This will settle down over time because we've dug down nearly a foot in places, so it will settle over time, and we are going to get little bumps and lumps and undulations, and we will have to spend a little bit of time, probably in a year or so, just levelling it out perfectly. Stuart from Proper DIY has done an excellent video on how to level a lawn that is full of undulations and lumps and bumps. I would highly recommend, if that is the sort of problem that you've got, that you give his video a watch. I'll include a link down in the description below. As I say, this is more about a full regrade of a lawn that we've done here, which is a little bit more kind of structural. And folks, I've got to get a little rant off my chest. Please stop buying plastic grass. It's awful stuff, and I just walk past it in landfills every day and nothing can be done with it. You know, after 5 or 10 years, it looks generally awful and just has to be removed. This entire lawn cost us 50 quid on materials, and we've still got half the materials left. So technically, this lawn cost us 25 quid. So if you want grass, spend 25 quid on some seed, spend what you would have spent on plastic grass on paying someone to look after the grass for you properly, because then you've got a proper natural surface that's self-replenishing. If you have any problems, you can just dig up an area and put a new bit back. You can reseed it anytime you want. You can re-level it. Honestly, I think plastic grass is one of those things like Artex, where in 20 years' time you're just going to see landfills filled with plastic grass because people don't want it anymore. Sorry to all the plastic grass companies out there, but to be fair, there's plenty of work regrading people's lawns, so I don't think you're going to be short of any jobs to do. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. If you've got any hints or tips or favourite lawn-related channels that you like to watch, pop them down in the comments below. Remember, links do get quarantined, but I will release them. It's just to stop like spam and things like that. But I've always had a slight obsession with lawns, and I do like to watch good lawn videos. I find it very relaxing. For now, take care, folks. Look after one another, and we shall see you next time. Tatty bye. What did I forget to talk about?